has represented a pride for Mexico and the region, providing a space of convergence among society, government, academia, and the business sector. On our 60th anniversary, we continue with our sights set on the future, planning the next developments, facing the challenges of the pandemic, preparing for the post-pandemic, and responding to new trends in order to meet our goals. Why we organize this panel? Since 2016, the International Campus of the SETI System, Ensenada, identifies strategies and encourages international experiences among students and academia, seeking to offer a global perspective to the SETI's community through several initiatives, including the flagship program of the SETI System, International Summer Program, ISP. As an example, last year, around 300 students, 12 faculty from 18 different countries joined us. It is important to mention that from the international campus, different initiatives that strengthen internationalization are developed and promoted. It is also the campus with the largest number of foreign students, as well as the main driver of internationalization initiatives. Among the different activities we are developing, we have today's event, International Experience, a key strategy to face the challenges of the future. A panel that seeks to provide elements to our students' community to continue their preparation for the future with a global vision. I would like to introduce our special guest, Dr. Mariela Ramond. She studied in Cambridge, England, and doctoral degree from Perugia University in Italy. She has lived and worked in Europe, United States, Argentina, Mexico, Portugal, and China, among others. She has over 20 years of business experience at executive level for an American multinational company. And since 2000, she has been teaching at the Polytechnic in Paris, in Berlin, and also in Beijing, China. She's also teaching at Beijing at their joint MBA program with City University of Seattle, USA. And since 2011, she's a distinguished chair in strategic management and China director at SETI University. Since 2015, she is a guest professor in Northwestern Polytechnic University in Shenzhen, China. And of course, a very close friend from SETI. Welcome, Dr. Mariela Ramond.
Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you.
And another close friend to SETI and a strategic alliance is Dr. Dean Casellas. He is the director of the Maxwell Center for International Communication, and is also professor of communications in the Department of Communications. Dr. Casellas holds undergraduate and master's degrees in communication from Arizona State University and a PhD from Michigan State University. He specialized in the areas of public relations, campaigns, crisis communication, and international public relations. Internationally, Dr. Casellas has taught and developed exchange program with the Donha Institute for Media and the Arts in South Korea, Salzburg College in Salzburg, Austria, the Norwegian School of Management and Marketing BI in Oslo, Norway, Shenzhen City University in Shenzhen, China, and of course at SETI in Baja, Mexico. Additionally, in 2007, Dr. Casellas served as a Fulbright Senior Specialist and assisted in developing a new organizational communications and journalism program at the Universidad Argentina de San Juan in Argentina. Welcome, Dr. Dean Casellas, to our panel.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
I will share with you the dynamic of this panel. So this will be the following. We have a list of questions. These questions were sent already by faculty and students. I will ask each of you these questions, and you will have 3 to 4 minutes to answer each of them. After our questions, we will open the forum to questions from our guests. Please write your questions, and our communication staff will share the questions with me. So I'm happy to start with the first question to Dr. Mariela Ramond. So as a student, what do we need to be a global citizen? to live and work anywhere in the world?
Okay. In my experience, global citizens means to be at home almost everywhere and to be at home almost nowhere. Usually, being at home is connected with the idea of a city or a state or a country, a geographical place. For a global citizen, being at home is connected to a feeling, to a state of mind, not a geographical state, to a sense of belonging. And this is why it can be almost everywhere, but it's also almost nowhere. Since I lived 80% of my life outside of Italy, I was born in Italy, everywhere I go, they ask me, where do you come from? And I really have a problem to answer, because if I say Italy, where I was born, it's not true, because I spent 80% of my life outside of Italy. If I say China, where I spent most of my life, even longer than in Italy, is visibly not realistic, not credible that I come from China. So I need to explain, I'm Italian, but I live in China. And then the next question is, where is home? Well, home is where I feel comfortable, where in case of my family, where my family is in South Africa, this is so, but also my extended family, my friends are in China, are in Mexico, are in Germany, and wherever I go, this is home. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that being a global citizen is so glamorous, and that you have to absolutely spend all your life out of your home country, because that's not for everybody. What I'm saying is, even if you don't leave your city or your country, this is perfectly okay, but you can develop the skills of being a global citizen. So what are the skills? It is hard work. Being a global citizen is a hard work. It means reframing constantly. So we go around and we look at the world with our glasses, with the frame, through the frame of our glasses. It can be our culture, gender, education, social status, and country. Reframing, it means, and we interpret what we see according to our glasses, the frame of our glasses. So reframing means I'm forgetting the glasses through which I was educated or I had the experience to look at the world, but I see things from the other point of view. There is a saying in China that they say, only after you walk in the shoes of someone else, you can understand someone else, which is the same thing as reframing. A global citizen, they don't judge, but they are constantly learning. Because judging, I don't learn anything. I'm just say loud what I think, but I don't listen, I don't observe, and I don't learn. So no judging. It means global citizens means they challenge intolerance. And it means global citizens means also understanding that the problems across the world, they are the same. They are more or less very, very similar to different degrees, but they are similar. What is different is the solutions that every culture has to the same problems.
Thank you, Dr. Mariela Ramon. Dr. Dean Casellas, could you please share your thoughts about this question?
No, I agree with Mariella. I think that if I were to break this down, sort of to think about what just she said, I want to add a couple of things. Actually, the first thing it takes desire and awareness. The idea is that you have to rise above where you are to realize that whether you like it or not, whether you think so at this moment, but that we live in a global economy, we live in a global society, and that to basically have a good future, we're going to all have to work together. That we're going to have to work together locally, regionally, across borders, and then globally. So the first thing it takes that desire and that awareness that that's what we should be doing, and that's what you need to do. The second thing it takes is preparation. And I think that's one of the wonderful things that CETIS has been doing. The idea of providing opportunities for students, about sharing that need for that global perspective. It's so easy, for example, for a university or a college to say, we're going to prepare you for a job here, without teaching you that really that mankind's problems are all of our problems. We're going to have problems locally, some of which may have been solved elsewhere, and we can learn. We're going to have problems regionally, again, some we're going to have to work together to solve, and they may have been solved elsewhere, and we can learn. And we have problems globally, and we have to bring our perspectives. Now, that's where that preparation comes in if you want to be a global citizen. The one last thing I want to add is this, is that by basically undertaking that education, undertaking that preparation, it opens doors. In other words, if you were just to have that desire and that awareness, but didn't take actions, for example, in going to a university that encourages and provides opportunities, you basically wouldn't learn more. You wouldn't have the ability to maybe be a global citizen on the global stage. In this case, the people that are watching this panel, you've already taken that step. You're preparing yourself, and through that preparation, there are going to be opportunities for you. So again, it's desire, it's awareness, and it's about preparation. And through preparation, you'll find doors open for you.
Thank you, Dean. I will take chance to introduce another special guest before asking her the question. So welcome, Mrs. Anna Opalka. She's the head of the External Relations Department in the University of Applied Science in Nysa in Poland, Administrative Director of the Research and Development Center of Renovation and Conservation, Institutional Erasmus Plus Program Coordinator of the Euro-India Center at USS Nysa, trainer and lecturer. Graduated on Master's Economic at the University of Economics in Krakow, Poland. Completed the postgraduate studies in management at the Wrocław University. Welcome, Anna, to our panel. And I will ask you the question that Mariella and Dean already answered. So what our students needs to be a global citizens to live and work anywhere on the world?
Welcome, everyone. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you. So thank you, first of all, for invitation. And I'm very happy to share this with you. And in regard to the question you stated, I really completely agree with my colleagues. And the words that I wanted to put on the table is also those that were mentioned by you both. So it's awareness. So when talking about what do I need to be a global citizen, you really have to be aware. And just going further, it's also understanding what you are aware. So it's something that you understand, respect, and make kind of tolerance for something that is new for you in your words. So in case of awareness, it's not only about that you are curious about the words, that you want to visit countries or learn new cultures. It's also that you take some kind of action towards experiencing this. So that's why so much important is going somewhere and experiencing something. Because through years, we learn a lot from books, from TV, from different sources. But the best thing and the only one that can give you the real experience is experiencing by yourself. So that's why by this panel, I hope we will all encourage you to take action into it. And taking action, I mentioned many times. So in my opinion, being a global citizen, after having this awareness, after getting a picture of understanding and tolerance into your life, you have to take action. Being a part of something, it's also a responsibility. And you will see when starting being aware of many things that are happening in the world, you will feel this desire of doing those things. So do not hesitate. And since you start thinking about the world and the place for you and thinking about how to change it for better from your side, you are the global citizen. So it just happens. So more or less, it's what I wanted to add to this wonderful answers of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I will start with Dean now. Why is it important to know other places, cultures, among other factors, and how does it help each students in their professional career, even if it is not related to what they are studying?
All right, so basically I'm gonna make two main points here. The first reason to understand this, that to take that perspective, is that basically to be competitive. We live in a global economy. And again, it's whether you want to realize that right now. I know that you may be a student, at CITES in Mexico or at another university, maybe an Anna's school in Poland, and you don't realize that this is truly a global economy where basically people compete, countries compete with their goods or services. Quick story, I became aware of the value of this. In 1994, I was teaching at BE, Norwegian School of Management. Watched a student do an incredible presentation on a strategic communication campaign. And when she was done, the teacher looked at her and said, Vibeke, you did wonderful. You only looked for a word in Norwegian twice. And then I realized she had given that entire presentation and what was not her second language, but in English, her third language. The next thought on my mind was, how can I get my students to compete with that? So what I'm saying is that we live in a global economy, whether or not you want to realize it. We live in a global society, whether or not maybe you or the people immediately around you realize it. And if you want to be able to compete in that global economy and to succeed, you're going to have to prepare. Now, the second part, I know some of you are saying, well, why is it important? Even if that's not maybe directly related to my job, it's because what it teaches you is perspective taking. Often what I find with my PR or my management students is that they go into a campaign or a project thinking, how do I see things? But that's not how you're successful. The way you're successful in marketing, PR, advertising, any type of sales, or even management is to understand how the people that you're targeting, how they perceive it. And that's what global education, international experience does. It teaches you the nuances of how different people look at different things from different perspectives, how language may shape a message. So this is important. Even if you don't plan on having an international career, what you're going to learn is a valuable skill, perspective taking. And basically, once you learn how to do that, you're going to be effective at no matter what you do.
Thank you, Dean. Anna, would you share your thoughts about it?
Yeah, culture is something which really identifies people, right? So it's a kind of way how you see the world, the lens which you put on your eyes and see the world, understand the world, and act in this world. So without knowing other cultures, without trying to understand them and respecting what I mentioned before, you will not be able to, take action on the international market. So when you ask why it is important, it is more than important. So in the global world that we face today, we cannot afford not knowing about the others. You might be pretty sure that sooner or later you will face other facts from different cultures. And as we are, brought up in different ones, we also see and perceive some issues differently. So how to cope with your colleagues from other countries when you are not aware of the differences between us? How to talk and find communication channel when you don't see the similarities? And this is the way how we should build a civilization of tomorrow, talking to each other and trying to understand. And don't think that only professional, let's say, knowledge can bring you benefits. Everything that is beyond, even if you are not learning your things, exactly things that you can learn from books or from your professors, you are still learning. In my career, in my work, every day, I will work with people who are traveling abroad, doing mobilities over 20 years. And in 100%, I see different people coming back. So for sure, this experience, exposure for different culture is something that happens for sure, that it develops you as a human being. You become mature, more adjusted to new circumstances. And for sure, it will help you to cope with life, not only to be better at your job, because this is definitely true that when I have to choose between the person who has experience being abroad and the one that didn't take the action, didn't take the effort to do that, of course, I will rely on the first person because I know that he could cope with himself being abroad. So it means he can cope with everything. So, and it's funny. It's really something that brings you joy, meeting other people, other places. You really can be put in the, let's say, environment. You can really compare things. You can think individually and independently. This is important, not taking as sure things, the information that is given through media or from other people. Just experiencing, I think, having your own opinions. So I think that going abroad or having exposure for internationalization, it's extremely important and for every student.
Thank you, Anna. Mariela?
There is hardly anything to add, and I agree with the concept that you just illustrated, Anna and Dean. I think it's way more than important. It's about survival. It's about one of my favorite words. It's about being competitive in this complex global village we are living in. You, dear students who are listening right now, you have no way to escape. Even if you don't leave your hometown or your country, or your city, the world comes to you. So don't think that you are protected. The world comes to you. It's your customer, your suppliers, your neighbors, your co-workers. If they have not reached you, they will. So the speed of change has increased and the way of solving problems has changed. You cannot rely on what you used to do or what you used to learn. If you experience other cultures, develop the skills, you develop different creative way of solving problems, in thinking out of the box, because now we are in an environment where we have to think without the box. So be curious, get out of your comfort zone, and because it's indeed about your survival and thriving in this complexity of our world right now.
Thank you very much for reminding our students that they should not escape from this new reality. And I think the next question is related to the previous one, but our students make this question, so I just want to share with you. So Anna, you will be the first one to answer this. So what advantage does it give me over others to know how to get along with people from other countries?
Yeah, of course, we answered a little bit in the previous question, but advantages of living in another country and learning about the other cultures, it's really tremendous. And it breaks down cultural barriers that you can have while interacting with other people. And it's not only when talking about interaction with people from other cultures, it's also how to interact with our own colleagues on our national level, because it really opens you as a person. So it also helps to understand other people's behaviors, but also your behaviors, because they are a little bit exposed on the different circumstances, different factors that sometimes you didn't even have in mind that could appear in your own life. So this is extremely important. And it also gives some professional opportunities as a bonus. So you will always be more wiser, more advanced in, let's say, analyzing things when giving also in your business environment. So for sure, this is it. And as I mentioned, the employers are really seeking people who can go through the barriers, who can go out of the box, as you mentioned before, Marielle. So in that case, you for sure will be a person ready to take, let's say, responsibility in your work related to other cultures, or even in the tasks that are provided for you in your company. So personally, it changes a lot. So as I mentioned, I have this experience, and the only thing I can promise that you will be completely a new, better person. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Mariela?
Yes, skills such as conflict resolution, or even better, how to avoid conflicts, are very important in the workplace and overall in our lives. And you are more likely to develop those skills if you are confronted in an experience of living abroad or dealing with other cultures. When you get along with other culture, you are more prone to reflect about yourself. And I'll come to that much later in another answer. You are more modest, you are more flexible, you are open to different way of doing things. Eventually, you integrate all these things that you have learned from other culture into your behavior. So your behavior changes. I remember that 3 years ago, a very dear colleague of CETIS, who was visiting with the undergraduate students Beijing and the university, and we were discussing, we know each other since more than 10 years, and we were discussing on, how to solve some things. And then eventually he said, without judgment, he said, "You have become very Chinese." And I thought, I'm glad it's working. So, but I was not aware, but someone that knew me before and after realized that I have acquired a way of behaving that were useful for solving some certain issues. So when we do this, then we look at solutions for building bridges when we have a problem to solve, and not to retreat on our area. So is one more tool in your toolkit, in your toolbox. And to go back to Dean's comment, first question, first answer, it makes you more competitive.
Thank you, Mariela. Dean?
I would start with competitive, but I think there's even something deeper. When you take that time and you learn how to get along with people from other cultures, how to understand culture, how to see through their eyes, the first and maybe the most important thing it does is it allows you to establish a connection, a personal connection at a personal level with people from anywhere. Now, the second point we brought up over and over, the idea of being competitive, what you're going to find in the world is that people in most cultures actually do business through relationships. And that's something that many Americans often don't understand. They don't understand that in Asia, often the business is not done in that boardroom. It may be done at the restaurant after that meeting. It's the same thing I find in much of Latin America. And that is that it's a relationship that once you're friends, that makes things basically a lot easier. Now it's easier to do business. It's easier to solve problems together and to avoid conflict. Now, a second part of that important thing here comes in efficiency and effectiveness. Now you understand how to get things done in those cultures. And often, again, that's done through relationships. And for example, in the Middle East, it's often not about filing, sending an email. Rather, it's knowing who to call, who to talk to, who to have coffee with to be able to get what you need done. So you're going to be more effective and more efficient. Last, the thing it also helps you do, it helps you basically avoid conflict. I know that, in some of your textbooks, you may have read that conflict in certain situations, which is a clash of ideas, maybe over a solution, is good. But what we're talking about is the other type of conflict which is basically personal conflict, or things like insult or offense. And so in other words, it helps you form connections, it helps you open doors, and then it helps you avoid basically creating barriers to things like offense or insult because you didn't understand somebody's culture.
Thank you, Dean. And I will get back to you for the next questions. Some of our students and faculty, they need to invest, or they have to invest money, time. They have to sacrifice family time to have an international experience, especially if it is abroad. So from your point of view, is there any risk on investing in an international experience? Dean, please.
Oh, my apologies. I'm going to say, when I read that question, when you sent it to me, my first thought was none. There is none. Again, I think that the first step, I think, in surviving and being competitive today is to realize that whether we like it or not, we're living in a global economy. We're living in a global society. Now, I live here in the Estados Unidos, and our country, my country, is filled with factories that people thought, oh, we build it here, we're always going to have these great jobs. Then the car factories closed. They went elsewhere. They went to Asia. They went to Mexico. Many jobs, for example, have now gone to Mexico because of the quality of work that comes out of Mexico. So is there any risk? No, none at all. The little bit of time, the little bit of effort, the little bit of money it takes is going to be an incredible investment in your future.
Thank you. Mariela, please.
Yes, I have seen the other side of the medal. I have seen students who were exchange students, or they were studying in a program for the total degree, or colleagues when I was in the corporate world who were in international assignments. I've seen it experience cultural shock. I've seen them melting down at various degrees in China after 3 days. And after 1 week, a personal friend went back to Italy, and he was 30 years old, so it was already some experience. Here is the risk. I mean, don't take me literally. I'm, tongue-in-cheek risk. The way we feel in a different culture, in a different country, has nothing to do with that culture, with that country. It has everything to do with us. There is an urban legend that at the beginning of the Great Wall in China, on the west side, so where the caravans were coming from the Silk Road, from Marco Polo times, there is a sign that says, "I am China, and who are you?" And this is what I'm talking about. The way we react in different countries has got nothing to do with that country or with that culture, has got everything to do with us. So an international experience and our reaction to it is like a mirror that culture puts in front of us and said, okay, do something with it. Who are you? And it helps us to understand ourselves better. And when I was mentoring, I remember 1 or 2 students who really had the meltdown, or personal friends who had the bad meltdown. I was telling them, the way you handle this situation will be the way you handle problems in the rest of your life. Even if you think under the cultural shock that going back to your country, everything is wonderful because in your country, everything was wonderful once you have cultural shock, but you are going to have problems to some degrees anyway, at work or family or, it's life. And the way you react now will be exactly the way you will handle those problems in the future. So you can go back, you can retreat, but this will determine your behavior in the future. Or you can stay and you say, I got this, it's going to be mission impossible, but I'm going to do it. Because you see that light at the end of the tunnel because you see the bigger picture. And this is the way you are going to behave in the future when you are confronted with problems. So when I said here is the risk, it was not literally, because the risk is that to find out more about yourself.
Thank you, Mariela. And Anna?
Yeah, beautifully said, Mariella. And I also wanted to a bit disagree with Dean, because there is a risk also in another thing which I mentioned in a moment. One risk which you mentioned about the culture is also the nature of the process of cultural shock, right? Because when going abroad, you are overcoming these all stages, starting from honeymoon and so and so. When you are happy, then you just realize that you are different and so on. Then you are coming back to your own culture, as you mentioned, and you are also different. So it means you are also somehow in minority in your society. So this risk is also too, because you are not the same person. And this is what our students say, that they are coming back, they think that it will be okay, that they would like to be enthusiastic to the people who stayed there. And suddenly they are stuck between their disappointment, between they not understanding you personally, and they don't know what you're talking about. Why are you so enthusiastic about everything? And you just go down a little bit in this shock that for you changed everything, and for them, nothing. So this is one side. And the second risk is the risk that you want more and more. Because as if you once try this experience, you have to be prepared that the things as they used to be will not be enough for you, because you are open, you desire more, and probably you will not be satisfied in the place when you that you left in your own country, in your own position, in your self country. So this is the risk, but I think it's a good side, because it's a base for development. So it means that you will be developing yourself. You will not stay in a place, but you will be trying to find out the solution, how to make it even better. So this risk, in fact, doesn't exist, let's say, for the side of minuses, but you must be aware of that you will have hunger for much, much more till now. So this is just to summarize what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, and really interesting perspective from our three guests. And yes, there's a risk, and I'm guilty. I'm always one more. So yes, I totally agree. So we will I will ask question number 5. So I will start with Mariela. So Mariela, as a student, one student said, as a student, we have to face a global competition. Which core skills will companies require from employees to face the post-pandemic changes and trends?
Good question. Last week, during the Discover China international course from Cetis University, one of the speakers presented this chart, which is from the World Economic Forum of 2020, and is the Future of Jobs report. And for skills required in 2025. So it was developed during the pandemic. You see that they are color-coded on the left-hand side. The blue ones, they are the majority because they are 6 out of 11. And this problem solving. So you can take a screenshot so you can have all the details of the skill required. Analytical thinking, problem solving, critical thinking, creativity. That's the majority, the problem solving. And this is what we have said so far, that an international experience, it gives you the tools of problem solving across cultures, not only within your own culture, but across culture, multiple culture. Then we have self-management. Or if you are abroad, yes, you will learn that. Working with people, absolutely. And then we have technology and development. I think 2 of the 11 are technology and development. And taking the last one, the yellow-green, which is working with people. I'm just giving you a quote of one of the students from China who is attending the Discover China course together with students from Mexico, South America, and participants from Europe. And they are in multicultural teams, and they have to work together to launch a product that sells in China. He told me, working in teams has been challenging, but exciting. So they are learning to do that, and they are going to take this knowledge with them in the future.
Thank you, Mariela. And Anna, would you like to share your thoughts?
Yes, COVID-19 is a situation that we all face, and it changed and rearranged our educational schemes a lot. Also, it changed expectations from both sides, expectations from students, expectations from university staff. I think a lot it speeded up the processes of technological changes within the institutions, but suddenly we realized that this is not the most important. So technology, yes, is in place, and we have to face it. And all the universities, even those that thought they are not prepared, they had to, because there was no other way. Students who thought they will not be able to use computer skills in their learning, they also had to adjust. So this is normal. But what I think we realized also that the scheme of, let's say, educational standards, educational processes have to change nowadays, because the access to the information and let's say the fast-growing sources of this information are really demanding from us much more than it used to be. So the teacher became a kind of guide more than the master, I suppose, nowadays, and combining the skills coming from technology, which were mentioned, but also the skills of, let's say, leading people through the new circumstances that they, let's say, were put in. It's one of the most important things of the teacher. Of course, there is a huge difference between teaching personally and against teaching online. And we can make some kind of discussions, and I believe that some of you will tell it's better, some of you will tell that teaching in person only counts. But I think that nowadays we have to combine both. Even European Union now, when introducing new program, Erasmus for 2021-27, they decided that all the actions will be blended. So it means that nowadays we have to face the fact that we will do both virtual education, combining with the personal one. We will do mobilities, including a short period of, let's say, online implementation of the programs. So definitely it rearranged the way how we use it. So the only thing now is just to adjust our educational systems to this, because if we miss that, we will go the wrong way. So I hope that you as students who are listening us, as well as staff, will manage to do so, and that you will help us also to give us feedback about in which direction this education should go and what is interesting for you, and what are the areas that you can develop for you and help you to discover. So I think that this is a great challenge for all of us. So I wish you luck, and wish luck ourselves too, because we should be afraid of this. But when it's going to be prepared, let's say globally, or even or just at least in scale of different nations, different countries, I think it should work. But we should be aware that it's not the same anymore. So this is the clue. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And what about your thoughts, Dean?
So when I looked at this, I thought from a student's perspective, what were the skills? And I agree, we're going to need every one of these that are on this page. But first and foremost, If I'm a student at CETIS or I'm a student anywhere, and I want to work and compete in a global economy, the number one skill are language and cultural skills. I've spent a lot of time in Korea. I once recently sat down and realized I'd been to Korea 23 times. I've spent at times 2 months, a month in Korea. And Korea, you're familiar with these companies that 25 years ago you hadn't heard of. The Samsungs, the LGs, the Hyundais, which are big conglomerates. They make everything from electronics, they make appliances, they make computer chips, they make ships, they make chemicals. Koreans, when I met them in business, tell me that they know that I work, for example, in Mexico or Latin America. They say, Dean, we need to better understand them. Can you send some of your Latino students to us? Is there any way that we can get interns here? Because we don't understand that culture. So what I'm going to suggest is, first and foremost, is language and cultural skills. Being able to understand language, being able to help bridge that language gap with, for example, businesses in other cultures or organizations in other cultures, and understanding the cultural nuances of basically how to get things done. For example, Dr. Redmond spends a lot of time in China. If you do any kind of business or work with others in China or anywhere in East Asia, that's Japan, that's Korea, there's this concept of face. If you're in a business meeting, they often cannot say no to you. If you ask them to do something, they will say they're going to do it. They have no intention of ever doing it. You have to understand, basically, in certain situations, yes means yes. In other situations, yes means no. Understand then how to navigate that. So first and foremost is language and cultural skills, and being able to navigate the nuances of those. Second, basically, it's problem solving. It's problem solving and being flexible to understand that maybe the way that you've approached things isn't the way another culture might approach something. And as Mariella said earlier, how you approach things maybe isn't the most effective way of doing it. One of the things that as a global citizen you become aware is many times the way you think something should be done may not be very smart and may not be the best way of doing things. So learning how to solve problems where culture might be one factor, where processes might be a factor, and where, for example, logistical challenges as you go globally might be a factor. Third skill, the ability to cooperate and work with others in this environment. Again, it goes back to that question. How do I get along with people, and how do I get things done when I'm going to be working on a project with maybe people from 5 different cultures or 7 different cultures, and we may be, for example, delivering products in those cultures or delivering campaigns in those cultures. Last but not least, it's going to be technology skills, but it's also going to be technological flexibility. The reality is that we who live here in North America, that basically we are blessed. We are blessed with tremendous access to technology. And while we think that we are number one with that technology, that's not true. If you go to Asia, for example, in Korea, the least expensive cell phone that's in Korea will also carry 2 to 3 TV channels, maybe 4 or 5. Their internet is 10 times the speed of ours. You have to be flexible, however, to understand that in some markets, in some parts of the world, you know what? They do deliver services via cellular, but we're talking cellular level at the most basic level, flip phone. We're not talking 50 megabytes a second. We're talking maybe 1 megabit a second or less. So what we're going to have to do is that what's going to be an important skill is to be able to use technology, but be flexible with that technology to meet the demands of the project and the people you're working with.
Thank you, Dean. I have a couple of questions, but I will go, because of the time, I will ask you one question that I received from our audience. So, and I will start with any of you, or I could start with Anna. So from our Ensenada campus, as a student in Mexico, we're speaking 2 languages. English and Spanish are the most common. It's highly valued. How could we start to movement and begin to inspire other students to learn a third language as a way to raise competitivity between us?
It's a good question, right? Even during the courses led by Corsetas for ISP school or something, we are facing the problem. We are having students who perfectly speak Spanish. They can easily communicate, living at two borders, right? So at the borderland of two countries, they really face that case. I think that it's like we talk about English people in Europe, or I don't know, Germans or French people. So when you want to be, let's say, open for new cultures, you have to go a little bit beyond. I don't know what's that much interesting for new students nowadays that much. Of course, I have some information from them and some feedback, but I think they are cultures that cannot be perceived through those two languages. English, of course, not much effort maybe for some of you because everyone is learning English, and discovering the culture of Asia, for instance, it could be also a great adventure. So I don't know, maybe Marielle will tell a little bit more about especially this Asian experience, but I can imagine that it must be that really shows them the new perspectives. And in regards to latest, let's say, results of different economies, we see that India and China, they are really on the top of everything at the moment. They are developing rapidly, and we cannot stay in a place where we are with ignoring that. So maybe facing that fact, and when they learn that the world is something more, and the real, let's say, technology, the real innovation comes from Asia, maybe it will be a point for them. Also, by showing them good experiences from perspective of other people who visited different cultures. Maybe learning even Polish, that is one of the most difficult languages, I suppose, could be a way of understanding some, let's say, cultural aspects of European people. So I don't know, in fact, what kind of technology, what kind of tricks to use, but I think that there is a lot in this. So especially when in regards to Asia.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Mariela, would you like to elaborate?
Just one thing, closing the loop, closing the circle of what my colleague said already. 2 or 3 years ago, a good colleague at SETIS asked me, my son is going to senior high school and is choosing the third foreign language. So English and Spanish, check. Should he learn French or German? And then I answer in the style of Anna. If I have 2 resumes, everything being equal, 2 awesome candidates, everything being equal, and one speaks English, Spanish, and French or German, and the other one speaks English and Spanish and Chinese, of course I want to see the one who speaks Chinese because it opens the door, it means something. Of course I want to see that person. And in the words of Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, once he was talking to students, potential students from South Africa on, they were taking trainings on e-commerce, and the students were saying, yes, but right now in South Africa, there is not the infrastructure for e-commerce and Wi-Fi and internet, all the excuses or reasons that one can hear. Jack Ma answered, if you don't do it, someone else will do it. So we come back to competitiveness. You, dear students, you are free not to study a third language and not to study a relevant third language. but many others will, and they are doing it. So what choices do you have? It's really up to you. Do you want to keep on being competitive or not?
Thank you, Mariela. Dean?
You know, I'm going to echo what was said, but maybe add a little more. The first thing is, I want to have China. If you're students, if you're watching this, you need to take a step back and realize that 4 out of 10 humans on the planet, 4 out of every 10 are in India or they're in China. And I think that when you the first sort of a competitive perspective, that any language that's going to help you like to work or to be able to do business is going to help. So when we're talking about a third language, my advice is to be competitive is to pick somewhere where you think that's going to give you a competitive edge. And with China, you know, that's, for example, a very smart one. Now, what I want to stress here is you also then need to take a step back about the idea of a global economy. We're here thinking about a global economy, and we might think, well, I need to learn Chinese because I'm going to have to go to China. And basically, I'm going to have to go to China to be able to use it. But when you actually look at the news and you look at the global business plan of China, there's a phrase, there's an initiative by China. It's called the Belt and Road Plan, the Belt and Road Initiative. And what they've been doing is they've been buying up ports. They've been buying airports and helping build airports. They've been actually funding infrastructure, 5G systems, Wi-Fi systems globally. Now, what that's going to mean is that if you know Chinese, you are going to have basically a competitive advantage because you can do business with people in many countries that are basically overseeing these billion-dollar projects. An example, my family's from Greece. In Greece, one of the biggest ports in the world is Piraeus. Who now manages and runs much of that port? The Chinese. So the idea is you should learn a third language to be competitive and choose. If, for example, that you want to maybe work in these industries, then learn Chinese. Or maybe if, let's say, you want to work in tourism, it might be something like Vietnamese or Thai that are hot locations. The point is you pick up the third language to be competitive. Now, last point I want to make, and that point is if you know 2 languages, make sure that you can use those languages at a professional level. One of the challenges we have here in California is, for example, at my school, 40% of our students are Latino, and most of them, their families come from Mexico. And many of them will say, I speak Spanish, but unfortunately, they can't read or write Spanish at a professional level. So what I'm going to suggest is before learning a third language, that rather that you focus on being professionally fluent. In other words, being able to use it at a business level, professional level, with your first 2. But again, if you know if you're well versed in the first 2, definitely choose the third language. And I would recommend today something like Chinese might be a wise choice.
Thank you, Dean, and thank you, everybody. We are running out of time, so I will ask each of you a 1-minute final thought, final recommendation to our students and faculty and staff. So, Mariella, would you like to start?
Thank you. Dear students, we are all living among a great uncertainty. And we thought we were living among uncertainty in 2019, and then the virus came. And so it really showed us what uncertainty looks like on a global scale. I don't think that my generation did a good job to protect the environment, to increase equality, access to technology among countries, and wealth distribution has been concentrated in, I see, in in North America, in Europe, has been concentrated in 1% of the population, wealth concentration, not distribution. I believe that from a macro level, we cannot expect very much that something will happen in that direction that makes the world more equal, more just. But I think that at the micro level, every one of us can do it. And since my generation messed it up, you, dear students, you are the one that you are going to fix it. I am convinced of this, and I'm full of hope because I know you. You come to my classes, I come to the campus. I know how awesome you are, and I know that you don't know how awesome you are. So you need us to tell you and remind you how awesome you are. And you are going to change the world and make it more just, make less barrier, build bridges, bring down walls, because you are doing it already now. So you are my hope for the future, because I know that you are going to make it.
Thank you, Mariela. Dean, your final thoughts?
I have two. One of the questions that we were asked to prepare for was, did we think that in some future, there will be economies and countries where basically everybody was going to have opportunity, that basically everyone's going to have a chance to be able to innovate and to be successful. And Mariella just hit on it. I'm not a pessimist. In other words, I don't always think bad things of future, but I think that what's going on now and has been going on is going to keep on continuing. And that is that with technology, there's not more jobs, there are fewer jobs. That we live in a global economy that's going to be more competitive. And what that's going to mean is that, yes, fewer and fewer people will have resources. Fewer and fewer people will have wealth relative to the total number. But here's the important part. The important part, there's two. The first thing is, what can you do to be competitive for yourself, for your family in that environment? And you made a good first choice, and that's CETIS. I'm always amazed at how hard CETIS works to be able to prepare you to be able to compete in that global economy. And that's through your classes, through programs such as this, and through basically international opportunities. So please take available advantage of those as you become aware of them through CETIS. Now, the second part is this, is that you can start being a global citizen where you live. I have a saying in my center and on my campus, and it's somos todos americanos, that we're all Americans, that what we need to be doing is working together, not just globally, but regionally. Both the US and Mexico, for example, we face many common problems by a border that's there that basically, that really in many ways doesn't exist. We both have the same problems. We both have environmental problems. We both have economic problems. We all have social problems. We all face the challenges, for example, of migration, but we need to work together. So by taking that global perspective, what you can do now is to start maybe working with people from, for example, the US, or maybe from Honduras, from Guatemala, from Salvador, but trying to solve problems regionally and to work on those bigger problems, for example, of the environment or about society, so that, basically it's more just and that basically we meet the needs of many people. So again, my final thought, take advantage of the international opportunities to be competitive, and then also work hard, have an awareness, and take action to be a global citizen.
Thank you very much, Dean. And Anna, last.
Yeah, it's the most difficult because you said a lot. So I really sign under all the words were said before. And from my perspective, I would like to encourage you also, besides the things that Dean and Mariella told, and not to be afraid to dream. Because sometimes we think that what we desire, what we dream about is not worth of our efforts because it cannot, exist, or you cannot achieve that. That's not true. So we believe that your dreams may come true. We believe in you, as Mariella told, and we are sure that the knowledge you are gaining at the universities the desire and curiosity that you have in your mind nowadays. And also, let's say, the progress, looking for innovation, which is one of the most important things, because the innovation now rules the world. So if you are not innovative, probably will not be successful, because what counts nowadays, it's just to be a step forward the others. So don't forget about this. And remember that in developing yourself, personally, professionally, you have to move forward, doing small steps in your local environment, as Dean told. It's better than stopping in one point, because when you stop, in fact, you are, making steps back, because the others are moving. So you stay in a place somewhere in the middle with some regrets in the end of your life. And what counts in the end of the day, what counts in the end of our professional careers, it's what we manage to make true from our dreams. So I wish you today, be open, be optimistic, because the threats of our, let's say, perspectives after COVID, or even some difficult issues that we have to face, they are nothing against your personalities and desire of change. So dream and be yourself in the life. So we wish you all the best in your life, and I hope that we will meet somewhere during SETIS courses, or somewhere in the world, on different continents. So all the best for you students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of SETIS University Ensenada International Campus, I want to thank all our participants, our special guests, and just be aware of the challenges, the opportunity, learn, unlearn. We have to be prepared to survive, to be competitive. We can't escape. The world will come to us. We should keep thinking out of the box, as our guest told us, and keep dreaming, keep moving, and SETIS University will help you to visualize these goals. So keep dreaming. You have us, and we have you. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.